welcome to another BeoTalk 321. Good evening, good afternoon, good
Maybe
morning,
I'll
wherever you are.
not goodbye yet. There we go. I can just like turn this more this way.
Hope everybody's doing well. Oh yeah, shilling. I've been out a week, so everything's wonky in my brain.
It's all the same, bro.
Hope everybody had a good weekend off. There was some Formula One going on, and it was fucking amazing. So, uh, go buy some stuff at Skinny Play. Use the discount to get 10% off. Come join our Discord if you haven't yet already. Find out everything first, essentially, there, and get better technical support than B&O offers.
Most of the time,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
and what is it? Oh yeah, like and subscribe.
One of the most important ones, I guess.
Yeah. So
So
yeah, leave a like if you haven't yet already, and we'll get into like your enjoyment of breaking your back.
it wasn't that backbreaking, bro.
Well, if you have the
The
skates, it's okay, but
I had everything. I didn't mess around. I actually when I bought them first initially, I bought two lift kits as well. I don't know why, but I only used one. But for this scenario, it worked out perfect because I could pre-mount the lift kits on both speakers, right? And when
mhm.
my buddy came over to help, it was just poof off the pallet, poof off the pallet, and then he could go do about his business, and I could skate them into the place and measure them out and whatever. I can't believe this is the first time I've ever measured out the when I did the theater microphone where the chair is, like where exactly where the center of your head would be when you sit is I think 4.27 meters each speaker exactly.
All
One
right.
of my like it's exactly, bro. I gotta put a dot where the base of the Eames chair goes so I can reset when after I mop. But I am fucking surprised
Most important question: have you had
how
the
they
cat in
sound.
there yet?
Yeah, she was here. Yeah, they were here yesterday actually.
And the cat was
And
okay with it?
you know what? I was interested. Like I was actually shocked about the cat. She would sit on the Eames ottoman. I
Yeah.
had a blanket there, right, so she don't scratch it. She was sitting there and she was staring at the dead center of the screen and just listening to music, and her ears were going.
Like,
And
ooh,
I
Pink
was,
Floyd.
and I was changing. No, we were playing like modern music, but I was changing from wide to narrow to see, to screw with the cat because she was more or less very near to the focal point of the 90s. And yeah, it was funny. She would sit there for about an hour, like literally just listening. It was weird. But yeah, she's not really interested. Like she goes behind them and whatever. But I made sure I'm like, don't fuck around, cat, because you gonna die. It's too much money to replace these grills, and it's a heartbreak. Even though the downside is that there is a minute yellowing of where the glue is on the whites. It's just what it is.
Hmm.
But they still, obviously, they look spectacular and they sound even better than I've ever remembered them. Like there's so much more bass, and they say to delete the room compensation after you run it, right?
Yeah.
If I temporarily disable the room compensation, there's just enough bass. If you turn it on or turn it off, or sorry, if the comp is enabled, they're managed. But if you turn it off temporarily, right, it is impossibly a lot of bass. Like I just like have too much. I don't know if I'm just not used to it, right, over time,
Yeah.
but
Probably.
most likely yes. But the bass is only leveled here. It's perfect. Like if you go to the hallway and you go to the other room, it doesn't like nothing rattles or you can't really feel it. So it works. It works very well. Yeah, this was my first attempt on a time lapse, and I did not realize that the rubber slides on the fucking thing off of my lamp because I put it on the lamp. I didn't think, right? But over time, like you don't see because you look and the phone is still there. But in this entire process was hour and 45 minutes.
It's good stuff.
Yeah, obviously it'll be faster with two guys, but I used that nafab tool that I specially ordered for. It was a breeze. Honestly, it was so much easier than jabbing a screwdriver in there and messing about. So, but yeah, it was quite a bit of work just to get them opened. That's for sure. And then see, like the goofy camera just slides, the bloody bastard. So I try to fix it.
Well, this is
But
what, the first video you made, more or less?
this is the first video I made. But yeah, I just like the next one definitely doesn't move. But yeah, if you look around, basically the tactic was that you go with the nafab tool. I put it away, but I've shown it in previous podcasts. You go with the hook part, and you basically just bend them to the 90 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go over it again with the other side of it, which is a straightening tool, which got a little bend to it, and you slip it in, and then you get that perfect straightened slip. Because if you do it with the screwdriver, there's that bump that happens in them if you ever open nine. It's a disaster, right? Because you fight in the fucking box.
Yeah, it's just friction all the way.
And it's also stress because the boxes are very, very close to the tips of the bottom of the feet with the aluminium, right? Like if you pop them out of the grills, like if you pause the video, you can see that they're more or less about, I don't know, 10 centimeters away from one another. So if you jag it bad and it hits, then it's a problem because it will hit your speaker or tear a cloth. God forbid, man, that would suck balls. So this is the second day that I did.
I love that you put on the white gloves.
Well, I don't want because the black gloves will leave marks. So I have a specific set of white gloves to deal with the Beolab 90 grills and whatever that is of bright fabric. So this is where the speakers are being prepared for the lift. So you take off both crowns, and then I go back to my work gloves, and
Get
then
the rubber peg things
the
out.
rubber pegs. I actually, the funny thing is I've ended up because of the inability, or not even B&O's inability. It was the fact that they changed the shipping company back in 2016, and the people that were in Canada, US side, were completely inept and inexperienced. I had gotten 3 different sets of just oak panels shipped to me because they were all broken in pegs. I had 1 out of 3 good. So when they sent them, I kept those little rubber ding dongs, the retainers, and I kept them in the original bags, and I had them sealed. And I found that these ones, compared to the ones that I had, are definitely way softer, more pliable, because obviously the rubber hardens. So these I took out, and they never went back into the speakers. And this is where you shove in. And for all of you that have installed a set of 90s, you know how bad those rings are to push in. Personally, I use a long hex. What was it? I think it's a hex number 10. I don't remember. Or no, not 10. It's about a 5 mil. Like it's a hex key that I use, and I have it just enough that the offset of the drill bit or whatever the bit that it is, it's about 1 or 2 mil smaller, and you jam it in, and then you do that circular motion to get it. You wiggle it in because you have to work with the threads that are inside, because that's where the attachment points were. So instead of doing like oil and shit to put in there, just wiggle, 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 wiggle. It takes a while. Like this was I slowed that. I think it was a 5 times speed, but this still was about a good 45 minutes, half an hour minimum to deal with. To place the rings, and then I don't think I showed it in the video. I don't think I did. But that night I actually put in the lift hooks because I took out all the plates. Maybe it's in the other video. I don't remember. But yeah, this definitely for people that are considering buying those speakers, be understanding that this is a lot of process that happens. Now, usually like have a friend, and some people like they choose to muscle them the fuck off the pallets, which 137 kilos to keep stable with very little attach or grabbing points is not a good idea in my opinion. I got what I did. I obviously it's red and black, but I bought the red straps, like ratchet straps, and I don't use the ratchets out of them, just the straps. And you basically go about knee high with them. and providing that it's that he's put it on right. But I looked at him, I was like, no, you got it upside down. So I did the same thing first time I put that on. It's like, what the fuck, this don't work. Oh shoot, I have it upside down. Because when you have them upside down, they just let go, right? So you
Yeah.
get up and the slips just go. But yeah, and then you just take them, boom, and 1, 2, 3, 4, puff, and it's done. And same thing, pallet goes away, which is a lot of wood to deal with. It's 40 kilos per box per speaker of just pallet.
Yeah, I have 450s boxes in my attic.
Yeah, so there you go. There's the second speaker off. I kept those rubber slip rings on because they're nice on floor like this when it's a hard laminate because you can slide them. But obviously, prior to all that, I mopped the floors before I had the speakers placed in, anyways. So I knew I couldn't. And then these pallets never really sat on rocky ground. They went from the container to the trailer, and from the trailer, and trailer had it was my coworker's trailer where he has he's got the bikes, the dirt bikes. I was talking about that earlier. So the speakers didn't really touch the wood either. They just sat on these rails. So I knew for a fact that there's no rocks. And
Yeah,
unlike,
anything that sits under it is going to be embedded in the wood. So don't just
oh
slide
yeah,
them because you're going to have a massive scratch in your
oh
floor.
yeah, you're fucked. So no, that didn't happen. And unlike Alberta, they use salt here, so there's no rocks on the road anywhere, right? The little gravel, right? So yeah, these are actually white speakers. These were the first white set ever produced, and they are also sequential serial numbers, which I know that doesn't exist anymore with the 90s or 50s, but these are actually in sequence.
In the early runs, they did.
Hmm. So you
I
had them like
used
the
to have
five.
sequential 50s, but not anymore.
Not anymore. Yeah, it's impossible to do. That's one of those reasons why I'm kind of. And this is, I could have had. We do have the skates for the TV in the shop, but I just didn't assemble it because you gotta. It's the old Avant skates that you reuse. I bought the whole pack for it, but I forgot it, and B, I just used the little the airbags that I have, which work awesome. They're rated up to 137 kilos each of pressure or lift pressure, so more than enough to lift the theater off the ground. And then I just put these hard foam sheets underneath the legs and just slid it exactly to the measurement where I wanted them. And there's one thing that wasn't shown later that I didn't feel like videoing anyways, was that I wasn't happy with if you look at the offset of the 90s close to the wall versus how far the theater was.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like that. When I sat down, like, this doesn't work. So I actually went, took off the goddamn wood and put the skates on, and I moved them 7 centimeters inwards on each side. So they're equidistant from the wall to the edge of the TV as a tower, right? It looks better optically. And also it it gives them, if it gives the back bass drivers a little more room to breathe.
Yeah.
So that's where that is. This is, yeah, basically adjustment of the TV, because I don't know, for some reason when you put the Vesa back on, because I had the TV dismounted for a move, right?
Yeah.
I rebuilt the whole theater. I put it back on, and the bloody theater sits about a mil, 2 millimeters proud off of the screen for some reason. And I
Yeah.
put it in the exact same spot, so it just readjusts. So I had to. That's when I leveled the theater, so the edge of the screen lines up with the wings, 100%.
There is a tiny bit of play in everything, and that would probably add up to 2-3 mil within all the bits.
Yeah.
Because you can probably move the Vesa when it's attached like that a little bit.
Yeah. There's also a horizontal and vertical movement to
And
it.
then depending on do you cross pattern tighten it, but which way you start, and is it exactly the same pressure as before?
Yeah. Ziga, I bought those 90s in 2016 in December for my birthday. And originally they were black. And then things happened, and I got an opportunity to get a white set. So I got the first white set of speakers, and more or less, I really regretted the black color when I got them. It was they were beautiful, but they're way too much. They're way too much presence in the room. The TV already is black enough, and that has enough to take down from the ambiance. So for me, the white speakers definitely, they look and they work with everything. The lamp I got more or less resembles a tuning fork, which is polished aluminum, and it's about the same thickness profile of that lat that is the crowns of the 90s. So it all matches perfectly. I have to do uh, the cables are ran and they cleaned up. You kind of barely sort of not see them. You can probably see a little bit, but I don't have the loom. I have to buy and order the loom, and I'm just debating because I still have to run. I unpacked on the bottom there. I don't know if you see it on the ground by the lamp is a BeoLink converter, the
Yeah.
NLML. So I'm trying to think and run, play with it a little bit. Also, to note as far as the cabling goes, to limit the back and forth of shit with wires, I'm running my network first into the master 90, and from the master 90, there's two that are going out. One is a DPL to the secondary speaker, or slave in those old terms, and then the second port goes into the theater, which supplies the TV as well. Zero issues.
Yeah, that's good.
Zero issues with speed and performance. I do have to say that for first few minutes it was grainy and pixely on the YouTube. A couple times I turned it on, but that was first 2 days. I don't know if the network settled or whatever. Like those chipboards were never used really in that way. So I don't know if I woke up a whole bunch of stuff in it, right? That like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, shit, we're happening now. So I have 90s turned on all the time. I don't give a fuck, man. Honestly, that's what I bought them for. I'm not one of those that I'll make another speaker group just when I listen to them with my turntable. No, they fucking come on. And the funny thing is that when they come on, that lamp dims about twice. I want to show you this shit. Freaking Quebec, man. Call this with your power, man. I've never had this problem. So check this out. Let's just go and turn on uh music, right? We're gonna go to BNO Radio, and then I need to check. Yeah, I need to select one. Okay, so ABC Lounge. Watch the lamp.
I guess you can just call that home automation to let you know that everything turns on.
Everything's on. Tabarnak, man. What the fuck over? So, anyways, it doesn't do that when you turn them on. Nothing goes brighter, but it's yeah, they definitely have that breaker. A little bit of a workout because they're all on the same breaker, including the 18s in the back, apparently, and the lamp, as you can
Should be
see.
all
But
right, really.
at the amount that I would be running them, or volumes at levels that I would be running them, I don't think they'll have an issue unless they'll fucking uh, flip the breaker.
I mean, you're gonna pull some power, but you're not gonna generally pull over 2,000 watts.
No, no, not in this room. I'm already fucking panicking at 50, bro. And that was like, that was regular volume territories. But just the way they sound here, I don't know if it's the concrete or whatever the fuck. I don't know.
Probably, most likely.
But God, this man, they are unbelievable. I'm gonna still put a rug here. The bedroom, I mean, the living room, it's completely backwards. It doesn't make any sense, really. It literally does not make any sense because everything is centered about the 90s. And I put the sub on the table as a ornament. It's just a bunch of shit. We were building Lego yesterday, and there's more Lego there again. So, but that's where the 18s are. So I don't know how to work this out because I want to retain this position, but I'm not really too keen on buying a couch yet.
That's what you
So,
have the bench for, isn't it?
but the bench works because I can pull the bench up and I can build my Lego like I used to, right? I just need to tune the speakers to go further down, but that's about it. So, but they are, man, I was running the tests or tunes, first of all. So, yeah, let's go through the process of all this shit. Because there's been a lot of, I heard that people had grief. You had grief with the 50s or 90s, setting them up.
Yeah, in Miami, I helped a friend set up some 90's, and it wasn't actually the 90's that were the problem. It was the theater and like being on beta and that sort of thing.
Hmm.
God,
So
what a pain.
I am on beta fully. I have to say that there are very, very good and positive updates coming out to the owners of the Bio Remote Halo. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not gonna say much more about it, but it is fucking exciting. And me as a tester, I gotta say that I actually use the remote now as a remote control more than I ever thought I would. But for me, it's a very kitchen remote. I ordered the back plate for it, right? So I converted this. Was a Now he's a bastard. He used to be a wall, but now he's a table guy. So uh, functionality, I had a problem with first of all putting the Halo talking to the 90s. For some reason, they didn't do that. I had to power cycle the 90s, and then they came on, and everything was happy. So all the presets for the 90s are there. Tuning wise, they are unbelievably louder compared to the theater's swoops.
Yes.
Holy
Yes.
fuck, man! 'Cause I'm sitting there like, what? I'm like, what the fuck? And I know that first one, there's 9 more coming, right?
Yeah.
And then like it's a 3-minute process from for each uh 1/3 of the measurement, right? Because you do it 3 times wherever you are. So I just, oh my god! And then I turn on, like I finished it, right? And I'm like, okay, let's do the theater. I put the mics, I set it up, and I'm like, and I thought it was broken. I'm like, what the fuck, man? Because I'm deaf already from all these swoops here. Because I was even doing them for like 3 hours. I was doing the swoops to tune everything, blah blah blah. And I was just like, what the heck, man? Insane, insane in the membrane. But from a previous lesson that I've learned is you cannot have the speakers set to latency mode that is low or high. They both have to be in automatic mode because the theater dictates what the fuck happens to both. And the weird part was for the first 3 or 4 speaker group changes, I don't know what happens between like in the background, but for the 3 or 4 speaker group changes that I did or speaker presets when I changed them and they the they went out of sync for about half a second. You can tell that like and then the boof and then they resynchronize again. So now
Yeah.
and everything was back. It doesn't do it anymore, but it did it first 3-4 times when I changed from each. I don't know if it has to communicate the filters that are running. I don't know. I don't know what's going on in the back between in that fucking wire between the slave and the master. Because it's only power link going out of the. But there's got to be a lot more comms coming out of the power link
Yeah.
than just the sound, of course. But I don't know if it's 2-way or whatever. But in any rate, they no problems. I had no problems tuning them whatsoever. I did have to redo it because that app it didn't give me like the automatic software update nonsense that I had to struggle with before. But I had it freeze up at the 3 out of 3 measurement, right? Like on the very last one. Call this, man. I've been sitting here for freaking 10 minutes, and now I got to do it again. So I went, opened the Chrome. I didn't even run it in incognito. I just opened the Chrome, put the IP address, ran it. I just kept the fucking screen on, right? Even though I missed it a couple times that it timed out screen turned off, but I turned it back on and it just,
Somehow it's not affected when you do it in a browser.
no, not at all.
I don't
It just
understand
catches up.
why the app does time out and it messes with it, but like in a browser, it's fine.
Yes. Yes, Eric, they did have an update when they first came out. And quite honestly, I'm glad that I bought beer that night and I had different things to do. Because the way you update the 90s, you fucking press update and you walk away from that room for at least an hour. Don't look at it because they take offense. Don't look at it. And in an hour, they'll be done. It's like it's like a woman changing her underwear in a strange man's house. You can't look at it. Don't look at it, and you'll be fine. That's what I've learned over the years of having them. I've had them set for automatic updates back in the yesteryears, but it was kind of creepy when the speakers started to reboot and power cycle and all these lights started woo, right? And I had my living room to the bedroom door open, so the fucking ceiling lights up at 3 in the morning with like these
These
white.
rings going.
There's these rings sirening around, right? So it's just like, no, 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 we're gonna do it manual deal, and that's what it is. So I do it manually, but I do walk away. I make sure that my head is preoccupied completely with something else, and I don't have to. I have a Beosound one in the kitchen, so that's what was playing. But I do not touch them. I don't even look at it. Just let them do and run their course. You're in it for at least 45 minutes to an hour, providing they don't fail. But usually they don't if you just don't look at them, and then you're finished. So the update, I don't think really affected anything that I was doing with them because I'm not running them WISA. I don't think I'll ever run them WISA. I think that if you can afford the set of 90s, then you can do it. Well, I do it more or less for the shits and giggles and testing. And by the time the self-tuning microphones support for the software came out, I had them hardwired. But in the beginning, it didn't really matter. I kept the original because I reset the factory mode, so I don't have any. I had narrow, wide, and omni that I kept, or that you get as a default tuning.
Mm-hmm.
So I kept the narrow. So my narrow tuned is number 2 is my reference position. Number 1 is never used. But if you want to hear them, what they sounded like factory, come out of the box in this room, you can still have an option to do that with the Halo or the app. It sounds pretty interesting how little bass they had back then.
Yeah, it was strange. Because currently the out-of-the-box experience is like everything's a bit wild. And almost too much, I would say.
I think there should be a little bit more focus on QC. That's just my opinion, observing equipment that I install over the time. And recently, I would say, yeah, we need to just a little more QC. I don't know, and I'm not saying that it's the outer shell of the product per se, right? It's more or less to what goes inside it that makes it tick and tack. That needs to be a little more harder revised, in my opinion. But at any rate, so I ran the tuning. I did the tune, blah blah blah. I've set it to what's it called? I've set it to no. I didn't upgrade my camera. I don't know. I just have good internet, I guess,
A better light.
and a better light. And it's cloudy outside, so it's pretty dark in here actually. If I were to say, but yeah, I sat down, bro. Yesterday, no, day before yesterday, because yesterday my girlfriend came over. Day before yesterday, I sat down, man, and I woke up at 3:30 listening to Tidal still. It was fucking whatever. Like it just went. I was listening to just like I don't even know what kind of jazz it went down Avenue, right? But it's like I woke up to the horns and shit. And like 1940s jazz, like literally like I had a war dream, like apparently almost. And I woke up with a half drank beer at 3:30 in the morning. I was just like, wow, man. And then they're still going. I'm okay, fucking shut them down. Let's go to bed. They were loud, but the imaging is second to none.
Yeah,
They'll never sound as good in the shop, I don't think, as they sound here, or as and they've never sounded as good in my other apartment as they sound here. And I have to chalk it up a lot to the theater, as far as the processing goes and how much does that do that. But I did not delete my room compensation presets because it's just they're way too bassy without it. It's much more manageable to deal with. And I'm listening to it still on the default. I didn't go through the levels. I didn't go through anything. But what I had noticed, I don't know if it's just coincidentally for the 90s, but I've tuned a lot of theaters. We've done over 150 theaters in our shop, and then I've been dealing with. I've never seen them that I don't know if it's too recent or whatever, but it did start with the center was at 0 dB and everything else was more or less. I haven't gone through it yet, but everything else seems to be adjusted around it. Yeah. I haven't played with the crossover levels yet. I haven't played with the dBs and so on and so forth. I did create a direct mode for the Tidal just to give it a shits and giggles. And yeah, it's I really missed the speakers, man. They were in fucking insane, but now they are out of this world with the way the theater makes the sound. And I think that's also the one of those drawbacks maybe in the shop, that like the nicest biggest system you can show off is an 83-inch Harmony with the wings come out, right? That's like the biggest TV, because you can't really fit anything other than if you go custom crazy whatever to put an 83-inch theater in the showroom. But that's what would make the 90s or even 50 sound very nice on the theater, because we've had them set up for a while. They're set up a little goofy because it's a small room and it's open on one side too much and blah blah blah, but they still sound great. The 90s now, looking at that, and when they're fucking playing, bro, holy shit, it is a lot. It is a lot of power. They are awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I bet you it's for your current setup. It's and the theater, and that you have actual walls,
Hmm.
not your paper mache walls you used to have.
Well, no, they're still paper mache. The sidewalls are still paper mache. It's not concrete all the way around.
Yeah, I know, but like 2 corners is enough, right, to trap it all in.
Yeah, this way, like I purposely built put them where there is not much, because this one can basically blast, and it's the outside. It's a corner window, right?
Hmm.
So that base, just whatever it dissipates, it just goes outside. This one kind of goes in. I don't know if it's an office. I don't think it's a bedroom. I think it's an office, and then they have a living room and then the bedroom. So there's more than enough gap to alleviate the. But I don't think that I'm gonna go wet and wild with them like I used to be honest.
I
At
wouldn't
least.
bet on that.
But I wouldn't bet on it either. I'm saying that shit now, man. Maybe because I'm not used to the because before that I lived with, I was gonna be okay with the 32-inch V1, but then the theater came out, so I'm like, oh fuck it, I'll just leave the 32-inch V1 in the storage, and I'll buy the theater with the 65-inch panel, and I'll pull the 18s out of the storage instead. And that's what I had for 2 years, more or less. So 18s are now at the role what they were always have been, rear surround speakers to the 90s, and essentially, like, given the amounts of things that these 90s were connected to, the theater definitely sounds the best. Because I've had them with the Moment, with the V1 32-inch at one point. I had them with the Core just for the shits and giggles. I had them with Avant 55, sorry, Eclipse 65. Then I went back to the Avant 55, which it ended off. That was the last of it.
Yeah, I remember when I first demoed the 90's, it was on a 1155, I think, at the time. And they
Hmm.
sounded very, very good, right? And then later I came to demo the theater, and it was with the same 90's, and the difference in bass was insane. Like, the
It's
theater is just way better at driving things to their maximum.
oh, so you guys, it's gonna be heard by the neighbors. Trust me, bro. I haven't had a bottle of bourbon in the house since I unpacked it, so there's gonna be times when the bravest will be brave, and I'll get me a notification, hopefully only, instead of cops banging at the door to turn it the fuck down. But I'm not gonna be retarded with it at like 11 or midnight, right? Like it used to be with the theater, because I didn't have any neighbors and I was running the building, so who cares? Here it's a little different story. So I'd rather just not get involved with people and shit. But before 9, 10 o'clock, it's still reasonable. And
Surely
if I drive home and I see that the neighbors' lights are off on both sides, there's going to be a few songs that'll sneak out,
Shouldn't the lights
and
be
that's it.
on, right?
No, when they're off, they're gone, right? Or like in the whole apartment.
Yeah, or asleep.
Not at fucking 6. Like 6 at night, that's you have an issue, bro. So somebody gonna freaking, I don't know, bathroom light on or something. Do I invite new people? I used to run the more or less. I bought them as a showpiece to sell some in Calgary, but the Calgary economy did not really permit for that after the forest fires and the oil dying completely, and there was not much money left. So it's not that I was stuck with them, because ooh, what a heartbreak, right? I bought them. I bought them for me, to be honest. Like I bought them because I always drooled over the lap fives, right? Because they were the best. And I spent a lot of my initial sales B&O career when I worked at the shop listening to the lap fives in the theater on different movies, doing different demos. So I had a very, very, very good idea of their sound signature, not just in the theater, because that was a good reference point to go into clients' homes, and you can't really tune them, but you know how much better or worse the room can make them sound or whatnot. And then things went the way they went, and I became a pro partner instead of an employee of a private business. I guess, a certified installer or pro partner at the time for 3 years contracted it was, and then it kind of just went to weird. But we're not going to get into that. It's long gone water under the bridge. But I had picked up all the projects after, so it was a pretty good business, and I not just was a fan of the brand and its look, but I sat and read all every single fucking manual that was available on the BOIs, man. Or at the time it was well, still is ROS, but it was a part of the fact that you download all these two PDFs, and I read all of it because I wanted to know the products through and through because I loved them too much. And I became very successful, and I've done a few homes, and a lot of money came through, and I'm like, fuck. And I got invited to B&O, as I was one of the top 10 in pro partners, I guess, in North America at the time. This is 2015. And the bonus, I guess, the reward was a trip to Denmark for the release of the Beolab 90 speakers, and that was literally the beginning of the acoustical end for me, because that's when I realized, holy fuck, there is no way to go back from these ever. And in 2016, I bought them for my birthday, and ever since then, every system sounds like shit.
So when your
It's just,
pocket or your wallet starts
but
to get very light.
that, and also the fact was that people laughed at me for buying speakers. Like, you just tossed money into the sink and river, basically, whatever the analogy you want to go with. But at the end of the day, even if I sold them for what I bought them, I still had 8 years of free pleasure out of them listening. And whoever buys them for what I bought them would be fucking laughing compared to the new prices. Because even to fix whatever, I don't see what would be necessary to fix, let's say a couple boards, let's say you have to run 10 grand a bill on them, it's still not 240,000 Canadian dollars to buy the white grills 90s. So 8 years ago, they were 80,000 US dollars retail.
Yeah, they're what, 125, 140 now or something?
Yeah.
I mean, not just that, right? Like if you, I don't know, let's say 2019 or something, bought a very nice Porsche.
Mm-hmm.
A year later, you couldn't use it.
Yeah.
Beolab 90's for that entire time, you had the most amount of fun with when you couldn't leave the fucking house.
Oh, and we talked about that too in one of the podcasts where, like, be careful what you wish for, because ever since I got them, I just sat at home and, hooked up the 9000 SPDIF because I was listening to through the NLM converter. I'm like, this sounds weird, man. This sounds doctored a lot, because the compression times, not compression times, but the amount of compression that you have to go through in order to get it to the power link into the fucking TV is too much. So I ran the SPDIF directly to the speakers, and back then app control was directly done with more or less the 90s web interface, regardless of the fact it's a little painful, but it worked. But the sound quality was like, holy fuck, okay, that's how the 9000 actually can sound.
Yeah.
Well, if it's pushing zeros and ones, if you're bypassing the 1996 DAC technology in it, right? So it was an insanity, and I'm ever since then, yeah, I'm like, fuck, I wish I was stuck with those things for at least a few weeks in the house. And then guess what? Get the diaper on your face and fucking don't go nowhere since March 16th.
But
And I
regardless,
listened.
like the Beosound 9000, right? Back then it was tuned to be kind of mellow and sort of, I don't know. I don't
Yes.
think the 9000, like its DAC, was actually tuned to be like obsessive about the quality. I think they could have gone that route. Like besides it being all tech, right? But it was more sort of like, this is music for your house, not so much this is music for one spot in your house.
Well, but at least, gratefully so, they've considered that one spot in your house by putting the SPDIF output directly through it, right?
Yeah.
Which also helped them later in the design of Beolab 5s, and ultimately have them controlled through PowerLink and fed by SPDIF to bypass and then have pure sound. And I guess that's another step out or step up. So how do they support? I'm not sure what product are you talking about, Ziga. How do they improve the sound quality through software updates? Any idea how that works? Well, it works very simple, man. They just change a whole bunch of stuff in it as far as maybe the processing, maybe the way that the EQ is set up, maybe the way that
Signal
the certain
attenuation.
signal attenuation, certain more efficient way to decode or encode through different codecs or using different circuitry part of the board, blah blah blah. Like there is so much shit that goes to it, and quite honestly, even with the 90s, I think it was the third or fourth software update where they actually requested you to retune your speakers because there was a changes to the way that the DSP processing was going on, and it made them sound much better, audibly better.
2 or 3 software updates ago, that was as well.
And
Well,
that was also
besides the
for the
point that
theater.
the software fucked it up on the 50s and 90s update, but like you had to retune everything.
But I had absolutely zero headache experience with tuning the speakers, other than I had to use their own web UI. Then I had one issue which I forgot. One, I think it was the kitchen speaker preset, which I didn't change from auto or from high to auto, and it popped off the master, but it never popped or swooped the secondary. Right? I'm like, okay, fuck. Go back. I'm like, oh, of course, right? So I put it to automatic in, and then you tell it to be in high or low latency mode for the theater, and then you're set, and it works like a charm. I honestly, I gotta say, I don't know if it's because it's so old, quote unquote, that back then those boards were like, we gotta make them good, but now it's like, yeah, okay, Larry, just put them in, right? I don't know. I'm yet to see another problem with the 90s because the early ones were built like a tank, and they still are built like a tank.
Yeah. I mean, again, what I still love about the 50s, 90s, 18s for that matter, like 18s are dumb and just turn on. 50s
I'm
and
gonna make
90s
another
are
coffee, dude.
dumb enough to be smart enough to just work. And they
Yes,
work without an app. Like they have
yes,
a web UI you can use, and it's not
that's right.
dependent on an external server somewhere.
They're independent of the cloud, basically,
Yeah.
which is great.
I mean, they are harder to attach to third party gear, unlike the modern Mozart stuff.
Yes.
But that's kind of both a pro and a con depending on what you're doing. I mean, to me, it's a pro because, like,
I've never really had a issue with them being connected to anything else. However, I have to say, and maybe it's just the user fault because I haven't really dug into it too much, but I was under the impression that the link eye with the join play, when you plug it into the mic/IR, it doesn't light up. It doesn't take any IR commands from me for the CD, which I wonder, is it because I still don't have the SPDIF connected to it from the 9000? If that's what it is, then I'll have to deal with that. I just don't have the long enough SPDIF. I have an Audio Quest one, but it's only 1.5 meters, so that's not going to work.
It barely makes
And
it
it's
down the pole.
God, it's fucking red too. So I need something that is white. I need white cables because it just disappears. I'm pretty good. So that's the plan, Stan. Let me grab my coffee.
That's the nice thing about B&O. You start caring about cables, but because of the color they are, not because of like what's in them necessarily.
Like, yeah, what magic did they put into this one? No, bro. Is this white? Okay, I'll take it. It is so true. But
You
know
must
what?
also
That's the way
be
it
quite
goes.
happy that you don't have a door in between your TV and speaker anymore.
Yeah, I like that. That did rattle fucking quite a bit on the inside. But at least you know what? I'm lucky that I don't have pocket doors.
Yeah.
Those are terrible. Those are absolutely terrible. So pocket doors are no good. But this looks it looks good.
Okay,
It
so the
looks
R
good.
asked,
It
where did you
sounds
get the
great.
white cable? Well, Ethernet cable you can just order in white.
Ethernet cable is default P&O Cat 7 cable is white.
Yeah.
You can order them white and black, but we just order them white because it just disappears better even into the loom.
Your power cables are black, right?
This one is not on this side. I don't know if you can see it.
Interesting. Is that an original one?
No, I got it.
So you don't
That's
have the ferrite thingies on those?
No. I have them separate. I was gonna put them on, but I don't really. I was just seeing if that'll work. It does.
Oh yeah. Supposedly it filters out some potential frequency you can get in electricity somewhere. I ran my 50s for the first 6 months off different cables that I had to get here, and then I didn't notice anything.
No, I have no difference, and I haven't juiced them crazy. So maybe I'll monitor them if they warm up. Then obviously there's a lot of more draw out of them, so I'll change them for a thicker gauge. But they are basically more or less the same gauge, just thin shielded or a thin coat.
Yeah. I mean, I just ended up getting flat wall things and reusing my European with the ferrite things, right? Because the prongs were rotation. You could rotate them and like open the back out and lock them, so you could have
Yeah.
the cable come down exactly how you wanted to.
I'm actually very much struggling with the right-angled ISCE cables for like right angle on one side and straight on the other to go to the back of the 90s.
Yeah.
Can't find them anywhere on Amazon anywhere. They're all black.
Do you mind cutting the end of a power cable off? That's what I did.
No, I might just resort to doing that and wire it with the yellow plug ugly into the back of the 90s. Nobody sees that one again. Actually, I have them black, so it doesn't matter.
I think I have one of those things over here somewhere.
But I need to get a white cable on the other side. Well, the other side you can't really see, and quite honestly, the cable. I'm actually at the point where I'm thinking of changing the cable inside the lamp and reroute the white cable through it instead of the black one. So it's because everything always will be white more or less until I am with someone that dictates otherwise. But that's a long ways away from that. So therefore, I'm changing the wire probably in the lamp to go with a white and see. But yeah, the cables. Casey, where did I get the cables? I got them. I honestly don't know where. I have them in my bin of trinkets that I carry in the van for different occasions. And it sucks because Quebecson doesn't order. And I looked at I don't even blame the Quebecson, but I looked at the B&O. They don't really have the availability of power cables that they used to. Because I used to be able to order 1.5 meter lengths in black, gray, and white. And those were perfect because we used to burn through a lot of gray and white cable, especially for if you get like the not the white subwoofer Beolab 19, but the off color, the gold zone with the isotopish or whatever the heck it is. The gray cable matches it perfectly. So yeah, those were the days of the good old yesteryears where you could order stuff, but now you just gotta source it out from somewhere else. There's a lot of companies in US that do that. Oh, this coffee is so much better. Shit.
So I basically got these units.
Oh, they're kind of get fabulous though.
Yeah, I didn't get. They're not exactly this brand, but this is the first picture that came up. That
Show me the face of it. I don't care for the butt plug. Is there a picture of the other
but
side?
The thing is, like, you can unscrew this and then you can rotate this whichever way suits you best, which is kind of nice. So you can angle them off the wall whichever way you want them.
Oh, okay, yeah, because right now they're in Quebec standard with the ground up.
Yeah.
Nonsense.
So,
And all
which
these
is not
here
the norm
are,
here. It's the other way round here.
bro, they're all mounted the proper way in this apartment. That was also the reason why I rented this place, because I'm not turning all the freaking plugs upside down just so I can live with myself in OCD.
So this is a black version. The other one didn't have a proper backside picture. I think either I
Okay.
have these or they're close to this, but like this is like this is a picture of like, I don't know, 30 centimeters away. Where you
Mm-hmm.
just plug it into the wall, right, and stand. They don't look like they do here.
Obviously, yeah, but you'll never see them from where I am,
Yeah,
basically.
but that way you can reuse your cables. That's what I did.
Mm-hmm.
And you can also cut them to length.
Well, the cable that I have reaches basically exactly the distance, the white cable. The black cable has two spools inside, zip tied on the back of the 90s. The master speaker is pretty busy. All the ports are taken up, basically.
Yeah, you don't
Uh,
really have any storage place in the 90s. Not like the 50s
it's
anyway.
not as good as in 50s. In 50s, you can bury an entire BeoConnect core inside.
Oh, easily. I
I've
think,
seen it done.
was it my secondary front and my master rear and the secondary rear 50s all have like 2 meters of cat cable in there.
Holy fuck, that's not that long, but yeah,
Well, it's just spooled up, right? Like and
yeah,
zip tied, like that. It's only about, I don't know, like that wide and a stack like
yeah.
that
It's not
high.
much, but it's a lot to push against the panels in the 90s.
Yeah.
I cut the cables to length on each. I left about 6 inches extra, so I ran them, just enough to wiggle. But that's the speaker that you don't just pick up to clean behind, right? Like, no, you can go under it with the little rag, and you take all the dead bugs underneath it.
Is this better, Serge? Is this better? Hello.
There you go. That's one thing that's a drawback on the 90s that I noticed, and I thought I was tripping in the old apartment, but here it's even worse. The the on the microphone, bro, the bass is insane when it just
Oh
like,
yeah, bad YouTube pops like the plosive
yeah,
and like God,
the,
it's like
yeah. It just shakes the room, man. Like, cause it's so low and it's so annoying because it more or less attacks your ears than anything else.
Oh, I watched this YouTube channel and they've recently changed something, right? And it's like it swoops in like subscribe, but it goes and it goes away. But every time like my whole house is like like what the fuck, man? Like make it stop.
Because it's tuned for all those little teeny tiny
Like
soundbar
headphones, probably. Yeah.
subwoofers. Yeah, like nonsense that, all of a sudden you have 8200 watts per channel. It's gonna show you how that slider works pretty good. God, it's good times. But yeah, I'm very happy with them. I'm very happy. I was so happy when they just powered up, bro. Fuck. I was so grateful. I'm like, sweet, nothing got damaged or shook, whatever, in shipping. Everything's perfect. They turn on, like I say, they flicker the lamp when they come on, but that's besides my point of concern. But every time I clean my B&O stuff proper because of you. Good for you, Matt. I also clean my B&O, not every Sunday, but I clean my B&O quite often as well, especially the dust. I am
Oh
gonna
yeah,
oil the lamellas. Maybe I'll make a video of oiling the lamellas.
you should, because I've never done it. I've never felt the need to.
But
Like
it's the walnut ones do need some
yeah,
attention.
these oak ones haven't been touched since literally leaving the factory in what 2012, 2013.
Oak is a hard wood, though.
Yeah, but I always felt like I'm just going to change their color with oil. So they've always aged with everything else, essentially.
Yeah,
Like,
Max, that's a good advice, but not for everybody. Because keep the dust off of the woofers on the 90s. That
yeah.
complaints and police showing up. It's easier to just wipe. Oh boy, but yeah, they are. They are still epic speakers, and yeah, you don't pay for, like, I don't think that the manufacturing process is really that expensive compared to what they actually cost in R&D.
Well, that's all paid for, surely by now, right?
It has to be.
I
It
mean,
has to be.
this was a project from what, 2010 to 2015 or something like that.
Yeah. It's been around for a while, because I remember even Scott going to dealer meetings in Chicago back in the yesteryears of the B&O store in Calgary, and he's talking about, yeah, they're designing these speakers with these angles. They look. He didn't have a word for it, and there's really not a word for it. It just looks like some sort of a worm coming out of the ground, more or less, but like a geometric worm made out of triangles.
Yeah, the initial boxes looked really, really weird.
Yeah, they did. So they definitely prettied it up pretty good with what the end result looks like. But yeah, the acoustics on that speaker are just out of this world, and especially with the, I don't know why, but with the theater, they are unbelievable.
Hmm.
So
Apparently, I never really noticed. It looked all right to me, but for some reason my mic is quiet, or unless I'm like right here, apparently.
I don't know. I can hear you pretty good.
Huh.
It is a bit quieter now. Yeah, pull it up. Pull it up closer. So,
Bloody hell.
but yeah, it's the only thing I don't like, that I don't have these curtains or shades, if you can call them that. Literally, they let a lot of light through, so the sun damage is inevitable. I'm not gonna cover them
Can't you
every
get
day, but
like UV shades or something like that?
it's not worth that 1 year if I'm staying here for 1 year. Because now that I've unpacked everything, the process is going to speed up. We all know that.
Do what every 60s or 70s grandma did as soon as you leave, like put that plastic
I
furniture
have the
protector.
original,
Oh,
those black original covers I have for them, right? That I pull them off from the pallet,
no,
so I
just
can
make
put
it
that on.
literal see-through plastic, right? Like what they had on couches back in those days.
It doesn't help shit. I thought I would buy like a curtain just for that room, that wall, but it would help acoustically as well. I did a shape last week, which didn't really help me itching opening my box, and I'm like, maybe I'll tear those picture frames down, put them in the hallway, and throw a big fuck off shape on the back. But then what do you do with the 18s? Move them closer? I don't know.
I don't know. You can go full Persian, put a carpet on the wall.
No, because I would obviously, when I would build the shape, I would put the speakers up and running. I would just need to buy one extra receiver. So then I just split them to left and right, and we're laughing.
Max asked, does any of the newer B&O have the sticky plastic rubber issue when left in the sun for a long time? Seen that on some bad Beolab 2s out there.
Lap twos, lap threes, man. Lap threes had the problem with that. Lap twos, yeah, on the baffles or on the side drivers and the coverage drivers, yeah, they got fucked up.
Anything essentially from Beolab 12s and onwards didn't have that issue.
No,
So that's
no,
what, 2008, something like that?
no. Beolab 12s, they came out in 2012, man,
Huh.
with BV12. But before that, the only ones that did not have that issue were 18s and 8000s and 6000s and 4000s. Those were only ones because they were aluminum covered. But if you bought the lap threes, other than if you bought them in blue or red, which was polished aluminium with clear shellac on top of them, so if you took them off, you would actually have like the Terminator skulls polished with a tweeter on top of it. Those had the touch soft paint. I have the Beosystem 3 cabinet that had the goofy touch soft paint. But if that paint never saw daylight of its life, it's still good till now. If you put it in the sun, it's terrible. Also, Macintosh, I found out we had a one for service, dude. The fucking remote control had a touch soft paint on it. I could hold it like that in my glove. It
I
wouldn't fall off. It's gross.
I just found out that with a factory reset, my mic all of a sudden was turned down in Windows. Maybe that's why.
There
So
you go.
I'm talking really quiet right now, and I hope
No, you're
not.
good. You're good
Yeah,
now.
but I'm talking like at 50% the volume I was earlier.
Oh yeah,
Like
no, you're pretty good.
I'm almost whispering.
Yeah, turn yourself down then a bit. The black Beolab 19, it looks like it couldn't also sticky, Mark says. I don't think so. That paint is different. It's a different touch soft paint. So, but then again, I could be wrong and the time will tell. But the black 19 subs have been around for quite some time now. The first ones that came out, they were lacquered gray, right? So I've never had issues with those, other than when people dig them up, they show pretty badly when they had been turned upside down on a hardwood floor without anything under them to look at the connection ports and twiddle with the knobs and shit. They'll fuck them right up. So that's something that you can tell. Even on the black ones, they all take damage no matter what if you are not respectful and careful with the equipment. That's
Have
just
you
BNO, man.
have you ever seen a? Oh, this
You're
seems
good
to
now.
be a bit better. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good now. It's good.
Have you ever seen a black 19 get sticky? I think they
No.
may, but one of the
I haven't
reasons
seen him yet.
it was in
It
the
hasn't
back
been-
of my head, and that's why I went for the white one, right? Because or the silver one, because that's like spray painted. But I went
Yeah.
for the white one because there's like no soft touch anything on there.
It's lacquered, Mikey. Don't make it called spray paint. It sounds cheap.
But is it
It's
lacquer
BNO.
or is it like water based?
I'm sure it smells pretty bad when they do it.
But I thought we were like all eco-friendly nowadays.
No, the 19s, I don't know. Maybe they're doing some vegan oil, whatever, base paint now, but I don't know.
Jacob asks, if you connect a BeoAmp 2 to a Harmony, what should it be called under speaker connections? Whatever speaker is connected to the BeoAmp is what it should be called.
Other, if you have whatever else. I personally always put them to BeoVox 1s if the speakers are capable.
But if it's the Celestial, call it the Celestial if that's attached.
Of course, yeah. But if you have, like, let's say you have Bowers and Wilkins or Canton or something that, like they're 8 inches or more, I would go with BeoVox 1. And if it's something that is smaller than that, I would go with the BeoVox 2, 2.1, because there's 2 different sizes of that speaker. So that's my recommendation acoustically. You can do whatever you please. You can call it other. It doesn't matter. It'll still trigger it. But I would honestly just play them with the BeoVox 1 preset, acoustic preset in the TV, see how they sound like. Maybe create a goofy speaker group just for the test of it, and listen to some music through them. And see which one sounds better as a preset and go from there. Because I think that the BeoVox 1 will be more tuned towards the bass because it had a more capable driver versus the BeoVox 2s, which are smaller, because they tilted out. So that's what I would try. Also, when you are connecting into the BeoAmp 2, whatever you do with the PowerLink source, if it's a PowerLink source, disable line sense completely, because you will have an issue with buzz, and sometimes it doesn't trigger properly, from what I remember. So disable just make sure that if it's a PowerLink, the PowerLink stuck to turn on, that's the end of it. Don't put anything else on. And then I turn the gain up all the way.
Yeah, because then in the TV you can pull it back out again.
Exactly. You can adjust that in a TV, on a TV side.
Yeah, I remember this from back in the day, like when people were like into car audio, right? And it was always like, oh, you get the amp in the back, and like, ooh, there's a bass dial and a mid-range dial, so we jack those up. And it's like, but you have an EQ up front, right? So wouldn't it be better to set it to something that works for most things, but if you need more, just do +2 in the front, like where you actually can control it, and not need to take out like screwdrivers to adjust this like tiny little thing in the back.
A. B, what I would also do once you are doing the speaker groups, I guess follow the golden rule, man. Put the center, if it's a harmony, put the center at 65% volume. Turn on your dB meter, see what the value is, and then match all of it that you have running in that system to that dB level under speaker group speaker level settings, and then you will have a proper surround. And it's so hard for me to explain to people that are coming from the understanding that quadraphonic is a surround, and they listen to the news and it comes out from all 4 speakers, which I understand. We can make you a speaker preset for that, but that's not realistic because that's not what it is. The
Buddy,
speaker,
welcome back to another video.
The news channels usually save money by broadcasting in mono, because it's, even though if it's 2 people speaking, it's still coming out of the goddamn center channel no matter what. So, and for that reason, I would say listen to some music through the stuff.
I did a video on all this for surround sound setup.
Oh, right on.
It's still in my old apartment.
Yeah, it's only 1 pair of 50s.
Yeah, but it was with 28s in the back.
I know, I saw the X28s.
And then 18s on the side, and
make sure you don't get demonetized.
Well, it's my own video.
Oh shit, kaki mushrooms.
God, this was 2 years ago already. Wow.
Isn't that funny?
It's been a long ass time. I sometimes miss the harmony.
I really like it as a television, but you know what? Given the limitations, especially now, like given the acoustic limitations that I hear from, you know, having the 90s hooked to the theater versus, you know, listening to the 90s in the showroom with the harmony setup, yeah. It's they shine much better. The processing is it's much better. We lost chat. Now it's back. So yeah, very impressed. I'm very impressed by this, even just the acoustics of this room, how it attenuated. So, but I'm gonna listen to some more stuff. I'll give it about a week, and then maybe Friday next week I will sit down and retune everything with the dB meter, because right now I'm running it based on what the software thinks, just to see what the differences are. And I'll probably just create a copy of the speaker presets that I have with my own tuning over top, so I can do me a little bit of an A to B comparison and see how that pans up.
I mean, if you want a ceiling speaker, get 17s.
You can get 17s if you can get them, but they are awesome.
I mean, it's also way easier, right? Just wise. You just need to run a power cord to somewhere.
They are tricky to take apart, bro. I had one come in with a dead DSC board. And the board is the same in 17, 18, and 19. It fits into all three species of the speakers, which is cool. But yeah, these are funny to take apart. There's 2 little hidden screws, son of a bitch, that if you don't know where they are, it's a lot of pulling on something that will never give unless you break it.
Willie, have you had time to play with the new DPL, Digital Power Link? I've run a set of 8s on them for 14 days now without problems. With no is not a thing.
With no problems, dude. He's got no problems he's running it with. I also had no problems that I was running it with, but I did 2 emerges at the time. I borrowed one from the shop and took my bathroom one out. And it was a very limited experience because I was kind of pushed into it. I had to do it so I can give the feedback to the beta community, more or less. But I didn't really sit down and watch the fucking movie with it. I connected them to the theater and basically used them as front left and front right on my counter without the center channel turned on in the theater, and just watched a bunch of YouTube videos as I was doing my business, cooking and whatever else have you. But I did not have any dropouts or whatnot at all. I didn't experience that. And I quite honestly have, let me just clickety clack on the networks here, excluding the fucking ranges, because now they all have Wi-Fi's in them, right? So there's, I have 1, 2, 3 ranges that I can look at access points.
Mm-hmm.
I'm close to, give or take, within good range. There's what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 8. I got about 16 networks.
Yeah, I don't have that issue anymore, which is kind of nice.
And the only thing that is wirelessly connected really at this point is my set of 18s and the Halo remote and the Beosound 1 that is sitting here in the kitchen that has no problems. The obviously 90s are hardwired. Everything comes out, and I hidden the network cable because I love the Cat 7s. They're so bendy and pliable that it follows the contour of the lamp on the back of the aluminium and then disappears into the ground, and then it goes into the 90, and then that supplies the network to the rest of the system. But I had no issues with it. I didn't run I didn't run them. I didn't run the DPL through the network ports of the theater because there is ports on the emerges, but I just didn't have the cables, nor I wanted to bother with them. Plus, I had 2 fucking 90s boxes sitting in front of the theater to begin with anyway, so it was just a hassle. But I had no issues. I even brought them into my bedroom, so it's 2 rooms away from the theater, and nothing dropped out. It was solid as rock.
Ralph says, I thought Cat 7 could only turn around a tennis ball. It depends a bit on which Cat 7 you have.
The curve that I have here is about, it's a much bigger than the tennis ball, but I've had them. Here's the thing. If you do a nice massaged bend, so you make sure that the shielding inside each pair is more flattened, and you can get a nice tight bend without the kink in the plastic shielding. Mm-hmm. But if you just fucking raw dog it,
if you just just go like that, it's not
you're risking the foil cutting through the shielding of the wires on the individual twisted pairs, and then you are shorting the stuff out. You have a problem. You have a bias. You have some fucked up things.
Funnily, what also happens if you want to do a tighter bend, you don't do that. Do that. Where you turn it into the same bend, because everything's twisted inside, right? And twisted things,
the twist pattern.
Yeah, also. And twisted things don't like to go straight with the twist, so you just twist it more into the bend.
Yeah, but dude, you know how many times I've been to the job sites where, the electrician pre-wire special, right? And you pull out the Cat 6 cable or Cat 5, and it's got a fucking, like a nice freaking Popeye the Sailor Man knot on it.
Yeah.
And it is, when you pull it out, there's this much left out of the box that is not kinked. And if you are careful and you kind of sort of, it will work still. But it's Cat cables are something that electricians do not, unfortunately, have understanding that they are fragile. It's a fragile wire, and you need to be careful with it. And even worse is the Cat 7, in my opinion, because if you kink that fucker, that's bad news.
Sushil asks, when theater software updates, do you recommend rerunning the room comp? Not really, not generally, unless it tells you to.
Yeah, if there's improvements to sound quality in the update notes, which thankfully, I don't know, mysteriously now appear. I wonder why. If it says it in the notes, I would highly recommend doing it, because that means that they have done some sort of a change or upgrade or a tweak to the DSP processing, which may affect the overall sound quality. But that's more or less a Jeff Martin question than me or us. But my assumption, and from what I would do, my logic, I would throw down.
They will generally tell you if they would recommend it. Otherwise, also join the Discord, because they will tell you on there, and the people from B&O will actually just answer you that.
And you will also have people that had gone down that avenue and tell you if it was worth it or not.
9 times out of 10, sound improvement in that realm means signal attenuation of some sort or another. Because the room compensation is quite honestly often like how much does certain things reverberate, where's bass dead spots, levels and that sort of thing. Not necessarily because in the whoop swoop they're not really looking for the purity of the sound, but more the levels and that sort of thing.
Yeah, the levels and feedback that it comes in. But the difference in sound quality, the last different sound quality that I had noticed that improved was when they had resolved the PCM issue that they've had with the 2-channel going on. and that was like 3.4.1 maybe, or earlier even. And that's when I had reran my tune on the theater. It's We did talk about it in one of the episodes. If you skip maybe 10, 15 weeks back, that's even more. I would say that's when it came out, because I was still in my old apartment, so that would have been at least 30 episodes. No, not 30, 15 to 20 episodes ago.
I haven't noticed any different. Well, I also haven't updated in a fair bit because, like, if there are any issues, good luck, you guys. But I bet you what they mean is how like bass is handled or something to that effect, right? Like, I don't know, sound is improved when they figure out, oh, when it hits X amount of spike on this, we can send it also to there and there. Like, it's maybe not as noticeable, but it may sound a bit fuller, or it may sound a bit more correct. It does sound improvement doesn't necessarily mean like, wow, it's totally different.
Yeah. Like it's minute. It's minute.
I mean, if
like
it's big, it's a problem.
Exactly. I think the difference putting like regular gas and the premium gas in the car.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, there's no difference.
Is it safe to update the TV software now from LG? What's the best process? If so, just update it. I think you have to update the B&O app again in that case. That's it, essentially.
I don't think I had to update my app. No, I did.
Yeah, because there's a new version of the Beo app, whatever. Not that it doesn't really change.
They fixed the text band. That's what they changed.
Yeah,
they fixed it. It's no more underscore whatever text underscore whatever thing it was there. It now actually says you have connect this only. This app is solely designed for products to work with Bang & Olufsen. Blah 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 blah. Okay.
Yeah, okay. It changes a firmware setting and it reroutes essentially the remote controls over the Ethernet port.
Yeah,
because it's a bit odd, right? Because if you, I don't know, have a stage or a theater or whatever, you take that off and you want to use anything else, it won't really work right because it's still in like B&O mode. So you have to like factory reset the panel.
Mm-hmm.
I found that out many moons ago when I tested the whole audio Wi-Fi streamer with the HDMI out and then power link to 17s and stuff. Very good product, but I ran into like my TV doesn't want to work properly because it still thinks it's B&O related when it wasn't. So I had to like factory reset everything, and that was actually quite a pain for like personal life post review, right? Because all these fucking passwords, and like I don't actually remember what the password was for Disney and that sort of thing.
Yeah. At least nowadays, for me, I as an installer, because obviously I deal with this every day. We put up a TV panel, right? The blessing is the QR codes that come on the apps. That Disney one is the biggest headache one. That's like accent fucking nuclear codes from Pentagon for some reason to get the account linked up. But Netflix, YouTube, and Amazon Prime, it's absolutely flawless. You take your camera out, scan the QR code, boom, gives you the confirmation because you're on the same network as the TV, blah, blah. Do you see that? Comes on, says, hit okay, Bob's your uncle, man. You're next. All your accounts, everything's linked. That's fast.
Yeah, the last LG update was a big one, though, because I think they changed something in their OS. Because after that update, like, every app needed to be updated. Like the B&O app had an update, the YouTube had an update, but those updates weren't available before that LG update went through.
The file was 1.53 gigs.
Yeah.
The LG update, so it was probably more or less like almost like an override of the entire operating system.
Probably. They probably changed something with ads, and because that's what you get now with your smart TV, right? Like if you're in the home screen, you get ads.
I think there's 2 more lines of agreement bullshit that the checkers that came in with it. For some viewership nonsense regarding the promos and suggested shows and the AI, right? Suggested content, which I turn all that shit off on all of it. And now apparently, for some reason, you can have a camera put in to the back of the TV, right? So I guess a webcam, because it's a source now. I don't get for what. Like, can you do YouTube, Skype, or something out of it? I don't get it.
I hope it's for auto calibration if one wanted to. Like,
Why would
where?
it be a source?
Yeah, I don't know.
Right?
It would be nice, right? Like to just be able to, I don't know, borrow, rent, or even buy like one of those Kalman sort of cameras that you have to like measure out and put in front of the screen, and then it just auto calibrates the screen.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because at this point, like I understand the pro people will do it better, but like the factory screens are so close to perfect already. Like, couldn't you just fine tune it to the room for like minimal charge and like automate it at this point?
Honestly, to me, the difference that makes is with the new LG panel. If you use the assisted picture calibration or whatever it is, the AI calibration, where it gives you the what is it, 6 pictures, photographs of different warmths of light, colors of light, and different scenarios, dark scenes, blah blah blah. You go through about 7 or 8 or 6 or 7 of these different sequences of different colors, and you leave everything on automatic. So let the sensor measure the light in the room, and I guess the color of it makes now chromatic adjustment to it based on that. In my opinion, just makes sense, and the picture is better.
Yeah.
And it looks good. And I always leave it in auto power save because it and I turn on the AI brightness. That's all I do. So let the algorithms take care of it. When it's too bright in the room, it just pulls back the contrast a little bit on the dark so you can see it better. And so far I had no complaints. And I have my TV set up the same way. And trust me, it's pretty bright here sometimes. Today is a very exceptional day with the clouds, but.
Well, I mean, my main room is on a C2 panel. My bedroom is on a C3 or 4 panel. I don't even remember. But the bedroom is quite a bit nicer. It's
because it's darker, probably.
No, it's sharper, the image.
Mm.
It's just like the C2 was the last of the previous sort of software and tech, right? Like, so it also gets way less ads and nonsense.
Yeah, the ads. I don't have any issue with that because I don't really have any of
I
it.
don't
I have
really
all of it
see.
turned off. Yeah, I have it turned off.
But as soon as you go to settings, right, or like the home button, like it's this difference is quite stark.
It's they push it down your throat now, but you can disable it all in the home screen menu. You can disable the ads, and I have all that AI suggested content shit turned off, and there's not much really like. Yeah, it's some of those things are unavoidable, but it's not as bad. And the nice thing is that I really rarely go to that menu unless I have to go to the menu, which then you just go list options and it opens the menu that you need to be in, and that's the end of it. So I don't really venture into the actual LG interface much because everything is done off to be remote.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I'm thinking that I think in the bedroom I sit just about as far away from the TV as I do in the living room, give or take 20, 30 centimeters.
so it's the same.
But it's 83 versus 65, but the 65 seems a heck of a lot sharper and like more color correct already.
Could be just the panel is so big that the amount of information that it requires, I guess, to display it in the same way. I don't know. It shows the poor codec quality.
Maybe.
Right. And it just, you can obviously, like, looking at my V132, for God's sake, it's got just as great of a picture as my 65-inch LG, but it's such a small fucking screen, right? It's 1080p. I'm blind as a bat anyways. And I have the curtains down, so it's dark, so it looks good. It looks very good.
Yeah,
it was a good idea to put the telly in the fucking
of course.
I honestly listen to it more than I watch it, but sometimes like this morning I'm like, okay, if she's sleeping, I'll fucking turn on and watch my little Command and Conquer dude. Watch Blade, kill some noobs and troll. First 15-20 minutes while I have a coffee. So yeah. But overall, I highly recommend buying a set of 90's, everybody.
Run to your dealer now.
Do it now. Use Wikipedia 4 as a discount code, 10%.
I wish. I wish that was a discount code, quite honestly. That would be amazing, even if it was totally like I didn't get anything from that. Like, I would love to have that discount code be, you know?
That would be sweet. Well, maybe I'll talk to Kareem. If anybody in Montreal is interested, use my Wikipedia for a discount code to get the
Yeah.
90s and 10%. But yeah, it's a speaker you will own forever, in my opinion. And yes, the moral of the story here, I do fucking really think about selling them every time I have to move them, because that entire procedure that, you
They're
know,
so big.
the entire process, you know, if I were to describe it to you from organizing the storage, which is over a few podcasts, like the amount of stress and headache that you got to organize all this shit, get it in. Obviously, it's a different story and headache when you're a client and you just have the B&O people deliver it. But for me, I didn't want to really bother the motherfuckers in the store because they all know how heavy those are, and it's like, you know, it's that one buddy of yours that has a truck that he knows you're moving on Saturday, so he goes hiking instead. And just to get them in the apartment was a headache because I had to remove the front door off the hinges because they wouldn't fucking fit, 1/4 inch difference, right? Not even, you know, 7 mils, call it is. So that had to come off, stack them in here, wait, you know. Obviously I didn't know how the cat's going to be around them and blah blah, and I didn't really have much help. I didn't know what the electrical, that was another problem. Besides that, to unbox them and then just to get them in to this position was basically a full week and a half, because I only do it in the afternoons, right? And also the cabling and whatnot. So you have 2 people full day for sure. It's 3 installers to get it going into the house
Yeah, my
at the
buddy in
least.
Miami was like, "How long does it take you to get your like tuning done?" And I said, "Last time, 6 hours."
Yeah, and it's no bullshit. It's like that was a separate, like a lot of these, you know, fun and slidey shows that I posted on Instagram. It's only a fraction of really what happened behind the scenes in order to get these speakers where they are. And the tuning wouldn't really be that interesting as a time lapse because you just see speakers doing little
Also, with
circles.
the time lapse, what are you
You
gonna?
don't see it. I don't think you would even hear them, right? So you just see the progress bar. At least on the 90s, you can see the progress bar ring fill up to the finish on each speaker. So you would see that at least on a time lapse. But other than that, it makes no sense. And then yeah, you sit here thankless 4 hours. I fucked up and I was gonna go for a smoke. I opened the balcony door. Poof, the whole thing failed. Fuck me. I can't believe that actually that picked it up. And I was so careful, right? So yeah, it needs to be absolute quiet. So I was doing my tuning at 10 o'clock at night, and then this thing is loud as fuck, right? Because it goes from the bottom belch of a bass, right, all the way to, like, you know, nails to your ears, and yeah, they were. It was a yeah, it's a process. It's definitely a process, but at the end of the day, the reward, the acoustic reward, is so worth it. Call this, man. It's so worth it. Like, you sit down after all this shit, crack a beer, and fucking put on whatever your first tune is that, you know.
I must say though, I do think like the sound tuning and going around to the microphone taking that long is a you and I issue, right? Like, because you can do it in 45 minutes.
Yeah, but I disagree with that. I
So
disagree
do
with that.
I. That's why it takes that long. But if you just want one, two, if you just care for literally like only here, narrow, and only the couch wide, and the rest I will never care about.
I've done a guide with the 50s that has only two, like, it was quick tune, right? Because he literally has a room that is no friends, one chair, 50s. Now there's 18s in the back. He's got a fucking 120 something inch screen projector right above his head. So the whole thing is, and a theater underneath it, right? So the
Mm.
whole thing is centered about, uh, and yeah, theater does work with the projector without an issue. So the whole thing is set up in a way that it's just one chair. There, he's got 2 side chairs for his sons, whoever wants to come in, right, to just like straddle. So yeah, I literally tuned the 50s for that center point of the where the chair sits, and then I tuned the 50s for the wide mode with the center point in the chair, right chair center head, and the left chair center head. That's the end of it. Then I ran the theater, microphone did the thing. Asked him, is like, you know what? Now that I got the 18s in the back, he's listening to some music. I'm like, I want everything in fucking surround. You know, I still left them all the previous positions. I'm like, yeah, we'll just create another one. You still have. There's no point to delete these when the information's already there.
Yeah.
I just reran the mic on each so it corrects for the distances and whatnot, and more speakers, and that's the end of it. And he was happy. Fucking sounded insane, right? And it's a room that is smaller than mine. with the set of 50s theater and 18s, right? It's a basement, so, and the ceiling is 2 feet lower even.
So the screen is almost from the floor to the ceiling in that case.
Oh yeah, it's literally the screen is not motorized. It's just stayed, right? So it's, I think, whatever the frame profile is off the ceiling to 2 inches below the theater.
Wow.
So yeah, it's a fucking basement and a half, man. And he's working on it, still putting more acoustic panels and stuff. I'm like, dude, when you finish all that stuff with the acoustic work, let's sit down again and like run the microphone on all of it again, because that changes the behavior of the speaker dramatically. So, but yeah, it's that for me. Yes, I when I do the filter, when I don't tune, I basically build the filters so I can make the tune out of it, right? Especially for the wide mode, I ran the microphone. I didn't run it this way because there's no point until I get the carpet. So I just did basically what I've ran, and I wasted, quote unquote, 4 hours of doing this preliminary tuning to see, because I just couldn't fucking wait. I wanted to listen to my speakers. But the final product is going to be that I'll tune exactly from the center of the chair again, center between the chair and the 90s, and center between the chair and the back wall. And that would be included in the wide mode filter, including the wide mode. So basically across, so the speakers have a lot more reference points to go off of in order to accurately produce the bass and whatever, and manage the entire space. So yeah, I rarely ever, the only time I have a one filter run is on the narrow tune mode. I just use that one filter preset because that's the best way to do it. If you just let the speakers do that one measurement, which they know they're supposed to be perfect on, and you don't add, like, there's no point to add the kitchen measurement filters because you're not fucking there. So it doesn't need to attenuate for whatever is happening there because you're never going to hear it. It's that one golden apple size of a spot that matters the most, and that's when you run only single tune. But for everything else, I put a few.
It's funny. I asked
difference.
in a poll, like, I think the Beolab dots are my ideal speaker, and I put 50s and 90s. And it was initially a bit more 50s, and it's now more or less 50-50.
That's right, people. I'm selling you good on those awesome ass, heavy ass 90s.
Well, one thing that makes me question, right, the answer is, like, in many ways, 90s are the ideal. But I don't think you've actually either seen them, worked with them, or like contemplated moving of any sort, like even rooms, or even, I don't know, I have a new couch and everything must go like 30 centimeters that way.
No, that's a full day just dedicated to the speakers. And it's not like, okay, now that you'd move them, you have to retune everything. So factory reset and do all the calibrations back all over again, because also the acoustics changed, the distances changed, everything's changed. And I also take the values from the theater, which is 2.47 meters to each or whatever, where the tuning mic was. Like, even when I tuned it for the chair, basically here on the top of the counter, because then it's good for that side and that side. And those measurements are put into the kitchen tune as far as the speaker distances from each 90. Also on the kitchen preset, I'm using front firing right, and I'm using side firing left.
Mm-hmm.
Because this one would otherwise shoot to fucking no man's land into that corner. There's no point. So I'm using the sidewall to bring the stereo basically into the kitchen from the side of the speaker. So it works very well. The tuning works very well with the 90s. They're so much more precise than the theater, which is funny, but the theater makes them sound great.
mean, I love. Don't get me wrong. I love 90s, and I could potentially have them in my house here, but they're huge. Like they're actually big, right? Like you have, like it works where you are because like you have one chair and fuck off everybody else, right? And that gives you a lot of space to walk around.
Yeah,
I'm
I don't
not
have
by
any
myself.
trinkets and shit. That's
Yeah,
it. And I don't have any trinkets and shit around. And
I have a
I have a lot
couch.
of it packed. I have a lot of it packed. Don't get me wrong. So if I were to undo everything, yes, they would be pretty busy here, but it wouldn't be as busy as your place because I don't have the couch yet.
Yeah, I mean, I have it. If I and it's only on one side, right? So the front right 50. If I put a 90 there, I could, but I would probably, to feel comfortable, have to move the couch at least 20 centimeters back for the size difference, so that you
Mm.
can walk around it normally without, or maybe I could walk around it, but like others that go la ti da ti di, right? Like that they don't slap my speaker, or I don't know, that sort of thing. Uh,
Walking in with the butter knife. Oh,
but
sorry,
but
bro.
but there's like there's a table behind the couch, not like a touching or something, but that would impact it. So I have to move the table back. So, and there's only because there's a wall on the backside of the table. So it's sort of like I'd have to start measuring in this case. Like, I mean, 50s are so much smaller, and you can like move them by yourself. It's not even funny compared.
No, there's no. The only way I can move those speakers myself is with the skates, and then there is no fucking stairs, and there is also no fucking way that they're going through the hallway and out through the door with the skates on. So it's a two-man operation again, and I can't even put them on the pallet and without the box to pull them out because the pallet bottom does not fit through the goddamn door. So I might as well just box them up here if I'm gonna be moving them again, and take the fucking door off and move them into the hallway, put the door back in so I can close the goddamn apartment and then take them out into wherever the heck downstairs in the pots container that they're gonna go to.
Yeah,
So
this is why. So in terms of ideal, right? Like I love 90s. I still want a pair of 90s, but there's a logical part of my brain that goes like, "Are you mental?" Like, you know what sort of hassle this is to get? Like, it fits through my front door because I literally changed my
bro,
front door from a single door to a double door, right?
once I move to Florida, you're gonna be allowed to buy the 90s because I'll help you with it. Right now, you're not allowed because fucking how are you gonna do that? You can't have Megan helping you with that because that's fucking you're gonna spend another Beolab 50s worth in chiropractic help after that. So no, I can once I'm here, I'll definitely help you move them because
I'll trade you.
they are ultimate. Trade you, maybe. You never know.
What? What you gonna do if you sell your 90s? Do nothing up front or 18s again?
No, 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 no. I don't know. I
Wouldn't
think
you want some 50s up front?
I would probably go with the 50s.
I mean, I have two sets already. What am I supposed to do? Like have 90s, 50s, 50s, and then 17, 17, 17?
Maybe a couple emerges as DPL. Would make no difference. But yeah, I think that'd be great.
I mean, I've always like sort of hit myself over the head a bit, like because I've had a few opportunities to buy 90s over the years at fantastic prices.
Hmm.
But in the time we've started doing this show, essentially, I've moved what 3 times, one internationally. So have you, I think. Like you've moved what twice?
I've moved twice now. Yeah, I moved.
Yeah.
Well, I moved once. I moved across the country, and second move was within the city. But the 90s technically moved only once,
Yeah, exactly.
twice,
But
I guess.
you've now enjoyed the moving 90s, right? Like it's been fun, right? Like it's been.
No, it was a fucking disaster the first time when I had to take him out of the goddamn Calgary apartment. The management lost the door locks for the wing doors, right? The foyer doors, which you open double. So that was fucking 25 minutes of drilling the locks out so we can open the doors with the horse trailer sitting on the sidewalk with my buddy, and everything's open, ready, hazards flashing, and we're fucking drilling locks because we cannot get the speakers outside of the goddamn building. and yeah, the rest was history. Then they went to the storage, which was not bad because the storage was they had a lift gate. I mean, the little lift jack, whatever. So you just roll them off the dolly right into the. We just dropped the gate directly on it, so there was no steps or anything. Just roll them in, put them in the storage locker, and they stayed in the storage locker till the time have come to move to Florida, which never happened so far. But they went from there to Montreal, and then they sat in there for 2.5 years. God, what a shame.
I mean, I'm perfectly happy with my 2 sets of 50s.
Yeah.
I mean, would I like 90s? Sure. Is it a priority? No. Not at all.
I think 250s are better than a set of 90s in an acoustics department.
Probably, yeah. If you go by the theory of that all speakers should match, then yes. I mean, also these, like, I think I told you last week, but I don't really sit down to listen to music like attentively much. It tends to be like I'm doing something, I'm outside, I'm vacuuming, blast it.
Mm-hmm. No, yesterday we were hanging out for the first time, like with my girlfriend. That the TV wasn't like on as picture, right? But yeah, I had the 90s going. I was doing my thing with whatever, and she wanted to build a flower set for Lego, like she thought it was like, we're gonna build it together, and I'm gonna keep it. So I had her build that orchid set, and then I gave it to her. She's like, "Oh my god!" I'm like, "Don't let cat fuck it up," because the cat, like, she wasn't interested in it. She's a very good cat. Like, I was very glad that she didn't, try to scale the 90s overnight while we're sleeping. So there is no damage on anything. She's good.
Maybe she just loves you and wants to lay with you at night. So, like, hey, Dad,
But
see me doing this to your speakers?
oh my god! But no, I was genuinely surprised that she would, like, in few occasions. And interestingly enough, it was some of the music was like from what we listened to together, right? And even Maria listens to at home, like from our common playlist.
Mm-hmm.
And those were the songs that she would jump on the couch or on the ottoman and listen and just sit there and listen to the music, which was very, very bizarre behavior for a cat. But maybe she's an audiophile reincarnated to my girlfriend's cat.
Try next time Riders on the Storm by the Doors. Like, that tends to freak out my cats.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll run a social experiment.
Pink Floyd is also, like, the Wish You Were Here album also does it for 2 of them. Like, even
is it because of something that is embedded in there that we can't really hear?
I don't know. I think Riders on the Storm initially it's that rain backdrop, right? And it's too realistic.
That's true. Paolo. Yeah, if you like your knives and you're obsessed with the 5s, just be careful, man. Depends on how old they are, and if they're Mark 1s or 2s, not really much of a difference other than the power socket, which now, if the chassis was replaced, it would be done to the new standard, which is a figure 8 plug. But if the chassis haven't been replaced and they're the original ones and they are less than 5 years old, I wouldn't worry. But if it's anything within a decade and over, you are very likely to pop the chassis, and you're about, I would say, good 6,000 Canadian out if you do both chassis in the same time.
Yeah,
with a 23 serial like that, somewhere around 2010-ish, I would say, if even.
I don't remember off the top of my head. I have a list somewhere. If you the general rule of 5s is if you can afford them, but that's all you can afford, don't buy them. Yes. If you can buy them and can spend another 10-20%, you're okay.
It's like you're buying an older car with almost blown engine.
Yeah.
That at some point, for a fact that it'll go, but if you can't afford to get a new engine into it, don't buy it. So yeah, like 2010, so 14 years of age, depends again. The best thing about like if you are serious about buying the fives and you have an ability to talk to a technician that is still equipped with the old service tool, you are able to connect to them and find out the standby time and play time, so you can tell how much time was put on those chassis, and that'll give you a good idea if they're worth buying or not. Because if they have a few tens of thousands of hours of playtime or on time, then you know for a fact that maybe they were just playing fucking a spoken word radio news BBC nonsense of some sort, and those letter networks or alphabet networks. But it could also have been that every time they went to the town and went to downtown disco.
Yeah,
with a bottle of whiskey
and big difference.
And yeah, those are going to be ran a little bit harder.
So essentially what happens is the bass is so hard, so massive on fives, is that it shakes like the capacitors off the internal boards. And then you get bad things happening. So that can be fixed. And they do fix it. Like they put the capacitors on like and like glue around it. Like they're like in a mountain of glue, but even that still gives up. Over
time, yes.
Yeah.
They use a lot of that glue on the 90s boards when I was fixing a 90 in Camden. Fuck, I was impressed. But I also seen them in Denmark. But in Denmark, I've seen the boards. Yeah, they already had the gluing process on them because they were assembling the speakers there. So, but yeah. Pat let's ask, how are you describe the sound of the 90s? How would I describe the sound of the 90s? It's an utter perfection per se. I don't think that there is much better. Yes, there are systems that will sound better, but the sex appeal and the look and how much equipment and gear and investment you would have to make to get that same sound is immensely high. And also, I don't think that whatever money you spend on a third-party equipment, it will not give you that power with how little it takes up on a footprint of everything else in your life. So that's A. B, they get in your head, man. That's all I can say. They get in your head. The clarity of the sound, the imaging is absolutely stunning. But they also, in the drawback of all of that, really expose how good or bad was the sound engineer that recorded the piece of music that you're listening to, or a movie. Like there is a lot that has to do with. And I've never been more disappointed listening to Sublime till I've heard them on the 90s, because you could hear the fucking garage that it was recorded in. I've never was able to do that in my buddy's
I listened
2006 Sunfire.
I listened to them on the H100s, and it was sort of, again, like, this is just an MP3.
Yeah, and it's remastered or whatever. So it's that's one thing that they will really do. They will expose. It's more or less the same thing. Like if you're gonna watch a VCR tape on a 4K TV, no matter how much you upscale it, it's still gonna be a VCR tape. It's just the recording is bad, and it's the same with the 90s and 50s. Tidal is definitely sounding better in my ears than the Deezer does on 90s, but I haven't really done a lot of listening, of course. And secondly, is it placebo or is it the bit rate? I don't know yet.
Yeah.
And is it the placebo from the fact that I haven't had these things in my house for 2.5 years, and I really grown kind of out of the amount and precision of the bass response that these speakers provide on just a casual listening level without any effort, and they sound great. Doesn't matter where you stand, what you do, they sound great.
This, by the way, this 3D modeling for the 50s to customize them is new on the website.
That's beautiful.
Because you can now also like see that, like, this is the cover I have. I guess it's the piano black one, but then you have the anthracite sort of metal front grills, which is kind of interesting.
Oh, that's cool.
So the difference is pretty stark.
That's sick. Do they have the Ferrari edition there?
Uh,
No, I don't think so.
they have the gold tone aluminium front covers.
Let's see that.
I guess you can do that
Oh,
with.
those are dope, I guess. That's a cool interface. I like that. Is that the same for the 90s? Can you see or no?
I'll go there in a second.
Bronzestone looks sick. It looks money, in my opinion. So yeah, if anybody wants to see the rerun of all of it or my little videos, you can see it on my Instagram. Bang & Olufsen YYC. And yeah, you can see me suffer. And that's also an answer to people who are asked, like, knee pads are very important. If you look how much knee time there is to go behind the speakers and play with all that nonsense, it's insane. So,
sorry, one major tip for anybody with 50s or 90s, because I inadvertently actually hurt my back. In my last place, I chose to have the Master 50 on the left. But when it was towed in, that
you're
meant
fucked for connections.
Yeah, because you like sort of that. I sat like that so long, like my phone rang and I went, ooh. And I literally, because of that, like pulled my back out.
That was it. Yeah, no, that's a very big consideration for me because it doesn't matter where the master is. What matters is where your sources are coming to. So for me, naturally, it would be on that side because that's where I want to run the 9000 to as well. So I don't have to run a long ass coax to the nonsensical side of the room.
Yeah.
And I think MM said earlier on in the chat that small room. This is bigger room a little bit than what B&O uses in their acoustic paneling, as far as what they do when they review the acoustic design of the speakers and what they sound like in a real life scenario. Because this would be proper European sized living room on the larger side of things.
A major speakers.
There's my babies, but it's a smoked oak. I don't have the walnut because the walnut wasn't available back when I got them. Was only oak and smoked oak.
Are you gonna get the walnut?
You know what I thought about it? The walnut looks the smoked oak looks very close to this chair right now, and I really don't want to play the Russian roulette with getting the bookmarking or wood grain that I don't like. So I'm gonna keep them as they are for now, and maybe later, or maybe in Florida once I'm there, I'll order the walnuts. But yeah. So that's I can actually make them because I have a spare set of the black grills.
I think I was initially looking at 90s this way. Forged iron gray with bronze and oak.
The forged iron gray is an awesome color, in my opinion.
Yeah.
They look mean.
I mean, it also works with the aluminium.
Mm-hmm.
But I think back then I had them with bronze.
Put the anthracite aluminium on it. That one is yeah, this would look cool.
With dark oak. That's extremely sexy.
Yeah, bro.
Because it's not black, but it's not really gray, but it sort of is gray, but
that's a sweet speaker. But it would look way too dominating for where I have them, so I'm very happy with my outcome. I'm very happy that I was able to get them before they were bespoke and whatever, and it's a $20,000 premium for the goofy girls.
The Parisian blue with like gold or was it brass tone also looks amazing.
I don't know why Parisian midnight blue is the most expensive fabric.
It didn't used to be. It used to be a free option. It's really strange. Like just like white used to be extremely expensive, right? It used to be like 10% more. Then it became a free option, and then it's an extra option again.
Mm-hmm.
I think they just make like a giant batch of them and then decide, actually, this is going too slow. It's going to be a standard color for a while. and then once they run out, it's going to be optional again.
You have a set of 90s and you're in a bedroom and you think it'll Beolab 8 as a surround speakers. I think the if I were to get a Beolab 8, I don't think I would venture down the WISA avenue anymore. I think I would connect them with the DPL, which will also give you the volume control, track control, and favorites buttons on the rear speaker. So if you are within the reach of them, or like if you walk into the room and the Beolab 8 turns out to be your left surround is on your right hand side, when you walk into the room, you can just turn it on before you even sit down. But for the sexy appeal and the look of it, I would most likely go with the 18s.
This is just...
that's my take on it. And the reason why I would go with the 18s is strictly the height of them and the acoustic lens. With the acoustic lens, you know, like if you're gonna watch movies on the 90s, I tend to put them in the wide mode to just give it the same effect, and they sound absolutely fantastic. I haven't had the experience with the Lab 8s with the 90s in yet. I'm going to take a pair sometime soon from the shop and just play with them here. And, you know, the only thing, it's a headache of pulling off the grill off the theater and tuning everything together and blah, blah, blah. But I'm going to go and undergo that process just to see what the difference acoustically is. And I'll leave the 8s plugged in with the 18s as well. I'll just put them side by side and basically do a comparison with the 90s going, you know, with the good old Deepwater Horizon.
Your favorite film. Do you actually think the sand color would show less of the glue lines over time, since it's a slightly different hue of sort of beigey white? If they're like in full sun all the
I don't
time?
think so. Maybe that's a big maybe, because it depends really how good that glue is, and if they have changed the glue since. You know, if they had come across the fact, well, this yellow's under UV, can we get another glue that does not do that? And maybe they've changed it in, you know, there was one of those silence changes in production, right? That happens that nobody knows about. It could be that problem is not prevalent anymore. But I've done whatever I could to keep them away from the sun as much as I can. It's a little different story nowadays here, but they look good. It's not like, you know, they're yellow as fuck. Like there's a little bit of spots, and it's kind of like you have to really come up to the speaker close, and it needs to be in a daylight for them to be seen. But other than that, it looks great. They don't show much of an age, and acoustically they don't show age at all. My ears more or less show age because I'm like, it's too much bass now, man. Fuck, turn into a geezer.
For people that also haven't, this middle section actually changes with the speaker depending on the aluminium, because in most it's actually black in real life.
Yes.
For some reason, they do it with the fabric covers here.
See, here's regarding the argument about did they have a room to breathe. I really don't think that 18s as the surround channels really need a lot of room to breathe, because you're utilizing the higher frequencies of it. The bass is completely irrelevant if it's muffled or not, because I don't know what TV you have, but if you have you can redirect the bass anyways in the old ASC platform-based TVs like Harmony and Avance and so on. But and it does it automatically anyway, so it just there will never have bass unless you go into the settings and redirect it manually yourself. So for that, it makes no difference. The only benefit that you have, that if you don't have much room, that the Beolab 8, the stand program, is much sleek and slender, so you can have them, you know, raised above your, let's say, nightstand or whatever. They can hover there because the height is decent on them. That's the only thing. If your bed is too big and that they would be covered with things and you put them on the table stands, the world's your oyster at that. In my opinion, in that case, it's also I'm not against going with the Lab 8s because you know, this and that reason. For me, sonically so far, what I had played with, the 18s sound very, very good with the 90s and 50s for that matter.
If they're 8s or 18s and attached to a theater, it really doesn't matter if they breathe, right? Because they'll breathe according to your room because of the room correction that the theater does.
Yes.
So that is more of a question for passive speakers that you cannot attenuate to the room.
Yes. But even those you can somewhat, to a point, attenuate to the room.
Yeah.
I actually thought about ordering anthracite or piano black crowns for the 50s, or sorry, for the 90s. I never looked how much they are, but it's gonna be like 10 G's just in the wind.
Yeah. This actually, like white with piano black and is it dark oak, actually looks quite good.
It does. It really does.
This could be a possibility at some point.
This could be a possibility. Yeah, it looks good. It looks really good, actually. That's the piano black, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, with the piano top crown. God, it is
expensive.
Yeah, it is. I don't know. I don't want to look at it. I don't want to look at it anymore. But yeah, it's I'm very happy to have them out of the boxes, bro. I honestly, it's been a long time coming, and it's making the Montreal stay that much sweeter now. To come home to the fucking some good old pam pam, a little bit of bass.
With your one chair, no friends setup.
With my one chair, no friends. Sad girlfriend on the back bench.
Yeah, she could sit there with the cat. It's all right.
That's it. You play with the kitty. Here's another flower set to build. Daddy's listening to some music. But yeah. So if you can do it, you can do it. Buy them because they're gonna go up in price again. But yeah, I'm gonna play with the ideas of bringing the Beolab 8s here just for the shits and gigglies, and I'm gonna do them with the DPL instead of the WiSA connection, just for the sake of new, and go from there. But that's to be continued, and maybe in the next podcast. You should also leave a like because we only got 10. There was a lot more people there. We get more likes over time, but it don't hurt. It don't hurt at all. So on that note,
thank you all very much for watching. If you have more questions, leave them in the comments. We'll get back to them next week. Next week, because I have nowhere else to go at this point.
Neither do I. Just sitting here tuning.
Have a good week, everybody. Thank you for being there with us. Leave a like, subscribe, and hope you have a good time.
Bye. See ya.